What's good, you guys? Welcome back to another segment of For the Underdogs podcast. Out here in Miami at Next Chapter U with the PAC event, and I got a special guest with me, Mr. Jay Ross, who is a performance coach for the PAC team, and I'm super excited to talk to him because this guy just seems like he's about it, and I want you guys to feel it as well. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me what this means. I saw this in your Instagram bio. Be who you are, and you'll set the world on fire.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about where that came from and what that feels like.
You know, I'm a big believer in authenticity as a human, right? And for a very long time in my life, I struggled with who I was. My identity, my self-concept, my sense of myself. And I hid that for a long time. I put on a mask, I put on a facade. I showed up the way I thought people wanted me to show up around. And it took me a long time and a lot of hard work to understand, like, hey, who you are is who you're meant to be. And if you just stand in that, damn, like, you could be great. You could set the world on fire. And I saw that quote one day, and it hit me. You know when you read things and it just hits you in your core, and like you have that gut feeling?
Absolutely.
I was like, ooh, it's that right there.
That's real.
And, you know, sometimes things get delivered to you when you need it most. I was in one of those moments in the phase of my life where I was really wrestling with this. Do I be the person that I think everybody wants me to be? Yeah. Or do I be the person that I am and who I think I am? And so I've really worked on standing in that.
Man, nobody talks about the pull that has on you and how tiring it is to show up as someone else as opposed to who you actually are. Myself as well, I dealt with that identity issue and thinking I have to show up a certain way. And it's like, no, be yourself. And I shot a podcast episode not too long ago that authenticity breeds confidence. And for me, that was like the realization after the Arizona PAC event. It's like you can authentically walk into somewhere as yourself, and when you do that, you'll be at your highest peak of confidence, as opposed to walking in somewhere and not being Jay, not being Jamil. Now you're pulling from different energy sources to make yourself fit. Can you talk about what that experience was like and just not feeling like you were able to be yourself? Do you know where that stems from? Like, what was the impact like from that?
That's a great question. I don't really know where it came from. I just always had this feeling that I didn't quite fit in. And so I tried to, right? I'm like, well, shoot, like, well, that's not cool. Like, you got to fit in, right? And so, again, I don't know what the birth of it was, but I just remember struggling with that as a kid. I mean, candidly, if I'm being really honest, I struggled with my weight when I was younger, right? And that always made me feel some sort of way, maybe ashamed, maybe a little resentful, maybe whatever. So I struggle with that. So I think that was like a start maybe of it. But then, you know, as I started to get more clear about myself, I started to recognize that I had power, right? Like I had an ability I told a story this morning to the group about this thing that my grandfather used to always tell me. And he used to always say that you need to wake up every day, look yourself in the mirror, and you need to love the person that you see. And if you don't, then you have the power to change that. And I struggled with that concept and wrestled with that concept pretty much my whole life because I was only focused on the front end. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really love the man that I saw in the mirror. But I kept showing up every day, and I thought that was it, right? Like me showing up in front of the mirror was the work. And it was to a degree, right? The consistency and the discipline to show up in the mirror and look at myself and be like, hey, are you right with this?
Right.
Like I needed to be in that inner dialogue and conversation with myself. But it took me time to understand that last part of the wisdom that he gave me, which is not just show up, but do something, right? Like you have the power to change. And I was sharing in my story this morning that I didn't realize that moment until the day I was up giving a eulogy at his funeral.
Wow.
And I was sharing with everybody that was in the church just the power that his words had always held for me.
Wow.
Right? How much I respected this man in my life. And he wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But like, to me, he was perfect, right? And so in the moment that I'm sharing this quote, it hit me like, oh shit. If you don't like what you see, like, go change it, do something about it. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, I got to be in action now.
Wow.
And I'd like to say that in that moment, it changed everything for me, and I was good.
Yeah.
I still wrestle with that even in this conversation. I'm sitting here being like, oh man, but yeah, it's just been this inner dialogue for me my whole life, and I think that's probably why I'm drawn to the work that I am, of being in conversations and in meaningful and impactful conversations with humans to help them understand their potential, and maybe even tap them on the shoulder and let them know what I see in them in case they can't see that right yet.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Talk about what it feels like to impact people from that point of view. I too as well, I crave intellectual conversation. I think that's one of the things that kind of put me in the space of podcasting, because I can really resonate with a lot of people's stories and take pieces from their stories and implement it in my life. Talk about what it feels like to impact. I mean, you work with these guys here at PAC. Talk about what that feels like to see someone at their lowest, or maybe what they think is their lowest, and you have the ability to lift them up and watch them kind of spring into the person that they are. What does that feel like internally for you? And then from an external standpoint of just watching it happen, tell us a little bit about that. I know that's a long question, but...
Yeah, no, I love the question. And I think, if I'm being honest, like, it's not for me about being in the conversation and being the person that does that for them. For me, it's about letting them understand that they can do it themselves. So it's the empowerment of the moments, right? Like, I can tell you a million different things. I can give you tools. I can give you resources. I could give you quotes to live by, books to read, podcasts to listen to and watch.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter unless you want to, again, be in action and do something about it. So for me, I mean, what it feels like, I just love watching that moment where the eyes open, they go, oh shit, I have everything I need. I just need to stand in it. Or I just need that help, that push.
Yeah.
Or I just need somebody to hold me big in this moment and let me know I can do it, but then check in on me and see how I'm doing on it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think externally, like, that's what makes me proudest in these conversations and in this work, is seeing someone really stand in their greatness. Because we're all great. We all have greatness inside of us.
Yeah.
We just need to recognize and realize what it is.
Man, I will say, like, for me, that feeling of having that fire relit in you is second to none. You know, when you've been at that position in life where nothing feels like it's going to work, nothing feels like you have passion or happiness or finding joy about it, when it's just that little spark, it can mean so much, and it can drive you. Obviously, like you said, there's times where it dips for you, like it goes up and down, but like when it's there, and it can carry you a long way, you know, given the right people being around. I want to ask you, being a performance coach, like, who are some of the people that you look to inspire you? Because you inspire a lot of people, right? And I can imagine that you have to draw inspiration from others as well. What does that look like for Jay? How do you continue to stay inspired while you're also giving this energy to other people?
I'm so lucky that, like, I'm surrounded by incredible people every single day in my life, but also at my job. And it doesn't come easily. Like, I've had to work to surround myself with those people. But I would say my inspiration truly comes from the people that are around me every day. from my daughters, right? Like I've got 2 little girls. Like that's my biggest inspiration.
Absolutely.
Right? My wife, like literally the biggest cheerleader and champion I've ever had in my life. I get to work with my best friends who believe in this work too. And so we get to hold each other big in those moments. So I would say most of my inspiration comes from that. And the players that we get to work with. Like talk about the most inspiring humans in the world. Right? Who've done things that I dreamed about doing. I never got there, right? They did it, right? And now they get to do it again and again and again, but in a different way, in a context. Shit, that's inspiring to me. I'd like to say like I read every day. I don't. I've committed to reading, and there's some authors that I really enjoy. I'm a big Ryan Holiday fan, and sort of that stoicism, sort of new age stoicism belief that's been impactful for me. Malcolm Gladwell, I love. Sahil Bloom, if you haven't checked him out, is a really inspiring human. But I've always just been a learner, and I take my inspiration from music, from television, from sport. And anything that you can see someone standing in their greatness, that's what inspires me.
I love that. You talked a little bit about, I want to go back, you had talked a little bit about internal critic and internal dialogue. And I think that's something that's been prevalent for a lot of people. Myself, we talked to Jake, he dealt with it, and you guys spoke on it. I just want to get your touch on the internal dialogue. Everyone has a different take on what it is and how it affects them. Can you speak on that and tell me, how do you take the step to conquering that internal critic?
Well, here's the reality, right? Like the inner dialogue's always going to exist. It's not going anywhere, right? Like we all have it. All of us have it, right? And I think the biggest gift or the biggest step is just one, bringing awareness to what it sounds like. Right? We know what it sounds like, but we don't really call it out and name it, right? So I always think about it kind of like, there's this incredible Native American story that we often use to tell this. It's just like a parable around a grandfather and his grandson going out on a hunt. And they're sitting in the woods and they're watching and waiting. And the grandfather starts telling a story to his grandson about, hey, grandson, like I got to tell you about this thing that's happening inside of me and occurring inside of me. And he's like, there's this battle, this constant battle between these 2 wolves. He said, I got this one wolf. He's like, it's the negative wolf. He's like, it's full of doubt, right? And negativity and self-hate, right? And he's like, man, it's a nasty wolf. He's like, and then I got this other wolf, it's a good wolf. He's like, joy, fulfillment, positivity, belief, confidence. He's like, and they're always fighting. And the grandson's sitting there, he's listening to the story, and he looks at his grandpa and he says, well, Grandpa, like, which wolf wins? And he turns to his grandson and he says, the one you feed the most. And I love that story because of the simplicity in the idea that these 2 voices are always going to exist inside of us, right? And they're going to be at a constant tug of war for our attention. And we get to choose which one we give that attention to. And so, one, we start with awareness. Can we hear the voices? What are they saying to us? Can we name them, right?
When you say name them, can you go a little bit further into that?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're as hokey as it may sound, like, give the voice a name, right? Like, who is the negative voice? Like, literally put a name on it. For me, that name has a voice. It's Aaron, right? That's my voice. That's my negative voice. Okay, I've given it that name for reasons that will leave. Okay? Yeah, they stay right here. Sure. But I know what that sounds like, and I can recognize when it's there, right? So naming it gives it an identity, right? And it's easier for us to attach and grab it when we see it and we hear it.
Yeah.
On the other side, right, I've got a positive voice. Right? We walked through this exercise with the men this morning. It's fantastic, right? Like, it's that naming of that voice, that positive voice, can be a person in your life that's been incredibly impactful, right? Inspirational, motivational. Maybe it was a teammate that you had that was always in your, always in your ear telling you the things you needed to hear when you needed to hear it. Maybe it was a coach that inspired you and motivated you, a family member that never left your side, right? Maybe it's a fictional, aspirational figure. Like, right? I always say, like, I love Batman. Like, maybe it's Batman, just like, chirping in your ear, right? He's telling you that stuff in that raspy ass voice,
That's
right? But it's the thing that you need to hear. And again, as we name it, we can call on it. Right. And I love that. And again, it sounds hokey and it sounds stupid and simple, but like you give these things names, they take on an identity, right? And that's an identity then we can grab onto. Did I answer your question?
No. I thought you had more. That was great. I love it because I think that when you are able to actually put a name on it, it like you said, it allows you to kind of get deeper into it and decipher, is this you or is this the other critic? In terms of being a performance coach, like tell me what someone can do to up their game in life. For me, I'm always trying to draw from certain people and draw from certain areas to where I can pull it into my circle. Tell me what someone can do if they're at ground zero and they need to take that next step. Tell me what you would give them, because you impact a lot of guys in that way. Yeah.
Step one for me is always determining your core values. It is the foundation of the work that we do here as performance coaches, but it has also been the foundation of my life's work. Right? I share that core values has fundamentally changed the direction of my life.
What does a core value look like?
So core value is the thing that makes you at your core, right? I always say that it's the building blocks, the foundation that you build your life upon. Right? It's your non-negotiables. Yeah. It's the shit that gets you out of the bed every morning, right? The things that matter most to you in the world. And those are your values, right? And you can do quick check-ins with, like, when you're full of life, right? When you feel like you're thriving, when you're in the zone, right? That's probably because you're standing in one of your core values, right? When you're feeling stuck, when you're depressed, when you feel like you're in the mud, right? Angry. A lot of times that's because a core value of yours is being stepped on or depressed, or you can't access it, right? So it's a good check-in. So I would start with the question of, like, what matters most to me in the world, right? Because from there, you get a couple things. You get really clear on who you are and who you're not. Yeah. You get really clear on how you make hard decisions, because now you got a filter to put those decisions through. Do they align with me at my core or not? Right? And we all face hard decisions.
For sure.
Right? This is a gift and a tool that I get to use now. Right? And then 3, it gives me direction. Okay, cool. I have a lot of power when I can move from my core values. So I always start there, because it makes every conversation that happens after, every moment of growth that happens after, it makes it easier because you understand where it's being rooted in.
Dude, that's powerful, because I did an exercise with my therapist a few weeks ago, maybe about 1 or 2 months ago. And she had asked me on the spot, give me who Jamil is at your core. And I'm like, like I'm listing off things that I am, like father, husband, brother, son. She's like, no, give me your core values at your core. And I think one of the biggest ones that I came to terms with was authenticity, which we spoke about a little bit. And what I found is, like, anytime I'm able to be authentic within myself, it has allowed me to flourish. And before, like, it was like authenticity, respect, trust, like, and trust was from a standpoint of, like, trusting myself in decision making, because so many times I've second guessed myself and I've looked back and I'm like, damn, you should have just rolled with yourself, but that's a skill that you have to develop. That authenticity piece, though, at my core, when I found that I'm happy and I'm being who I want to be, I found that is the portion that matters the most to me. Are you truly aligned with what you're supposed to be doing? does it feel good to you from a fulfillment standpoint? And if I can check that box, now I'm able to have the better decision making. I'm able to act accordingly because I don't have to try to be a different person, which we talked about, the identity thing. So
sounds freeing.
It's, oh man, it's a weight lifted off of your shoulders when you can truly be aligned in who you are and authentic in who you are. There is no energy pull from another. I don't have to act one way. I can just be myself. So I think the core value thing is super powerful, and it's just crazy that you said it, because that's what my therapist had told me when she's like, I felt like I was being drained a little bit. She's like, well, let's get to the bottom of it. Like, tell me what these are, and then now you can move now from this place. Like, put this bucket to that side, and if everything falls into that bucket, you do it. From a relationship standpoint, friendship standpoint, everything, you do it. If it doesn't fall in that bucket, it's not for you.
That's it.
It's not for you to chase.
Well, I told you that core values work fundamentally changed my life, right? Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit earlier about just that sort of internal struggle I've had with who I am, right? Yeah. Who I want to be and who I think I should be, right?
Yeah.
Core values gave me clarity. It's like, oh, this is who I am. Yeah. So if I show up like this all the time, nothing else matters, right? Yeah. Like if I stand in this, I'm me at my core, authentically, right? Yeah. Like, so again, like I said before, core values gives you clarity, right? It gives you direction, and then it gives you the filter to make those hard decisions. So yeah, man, I'm so glad that you had that experience.
Yeah, man, it's a powerful experience. I think that everybody should, even if it's just in a time of writing it down to yourself, who is this person at my core?
Yeah, and to give an upgrade on that too, right? Because sometimes it's really hard for us to identify those things in ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a hard access point.
Yeah.
Right. So I always go like one step to the left, right? So go find your best friend in the world and ask them to describe you in 3 words. Those 3 words they give you, I bet you they're pretty damn close to your core values.
Hey, man. I just did an episode on internal perception versus external perception and how people view us from a different lens than how we view ourselves a lot of times. Your best friend, the way that you light them up when you walk in a room, use that to not feed to feed the right wolf in your internal critic. Because like my therapist said, sometimes we're not the most efficient with the lens and how we view ourselves. So it's just crazy that, it just lines up, but that's real. That your best friend, if they tell you those values, that's who you are, because that's who you've shown. That's what you put on, in football terms, you put on tape. Your resume is what you put on tape. And to other people, that's who you are as well.
That's it.
Man, powerful episode, man. I appreciate you stopping by. I think the last question I wanted to ask you is like, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten in your life outside of, your grandpa telling you that powerful quote? What's the best piece of advice that you can give in terms of life?
Okay, so it's hard to top grandpa's advice, but all right, can I give a little context real quick, and I'll land the advice. So a point in my life where, again, I'm trying to really stand in who I am, and I'm trying to figure out how to get where I want to go, right? I'm in a place right now. I'm feeling a little stuck. I want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And so there was a colleague, a peer of mine that I was doing some work with, and I was waiting for them to give me a call, right, about an opportunity. And, just casually checking in along the way, like, hey, how we doing? Are we getting anywhere? Like, any updates? And I remember I was in a Starbucks. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting in a Starbucks in my hometown, and she called me, and I'm like, oh, bet, cool. Maybe this is the update. And we got talking. She's like, hey, unfortunately, like, I don't have an update. Like we're still kind of in this holding pattern. And I was like, all right, cool. But she's like, hey, like, why are you waiting for my permission to go do what it is that you want to do? And she says, she's like, stop waiting for other people to give you the permission to go after what you want. And I was like, well, shit, you're exactly right. Yeah. I'm like, sure. Here I am waiting for permission to be me, for permission to go do the things I want, permission to go make a bet on myself, right? I'm waiting for somebody else to say, hey, it's cool, go do this thing. Like, nah, like I've got to give myself permission. I've got to tap myself in right now.
Yeah.
And so often we sit and we wait for others to tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, it's your turn. Hey, it's your time to go. And that's I've carried with me a lot, right? And so I guess the advice is, why not now? Right? If you're sitting there and you're thinking like, man, I have this dream, or hey, I want to go try this thing, or hey, I need to find my next, like tap yourself in. Why not now?
That's powerful. And it's real. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that.
So sorry, I know this is your show, but now it's my turn to ask you a question. What's the thing that you're waiting on? Where's the area of your life that you need to tap in right now?
That's a good question. I think for me, I've had dips in consistency. I think there's times where I press the pedal, and then there's times where I let off the pedal. And it's not based on, I'm not basing it on the right things. I'm not basing it on me, It's like external things. And this is in life. Like, I'm not even talking podcasts. I'm not talking business stuff. Like, this is just in life. There's times where I'm really consistent in my process, and then there's times where I let off my process. And it's like I'm looking for there to be this moment of, bam, you did the book, you did the work, you read the book, you listened to this, and now it's time to, you get that reward, as opposed to me just giving myself permission to constantly be who I want to be in every facet. And it trickles, But as a person, I feel like I have dips in consistency. And that's just being real. I'm sure other people can say that as well. Like, if someone's out here crushing it every day, I need to know, because the reality of it is, I think as people, we're up and down at times.
For sure.
But for me, I'm up a lot more than I'm down, but I can be more consistent in that.
So if there's a place you could press the pedal all the way down in your life right now, like one area of your life that you could put the pedal to the floor, what would it be?
I would say it would be in the growth piece.
Like, what would that look like?
To me, it would look like, we talked about time blocking yesterday. And that was the second time I had heard that conversation, and I wrote down new things. To me, I need to designate it. Like yesterday, after I got from that meeting, I need to designate an hour a day that I'm doing my stuff, my podcast stuff, like things that serve me. I need to designate that in my time block. Not just, okay, I woke up at 6 a.m, now it's time to get outside. Like, no, designate a certain amount of time to spend doing the thing that you want to do, so it becomes just the routine. Like, I have a routine, but it's built from me playing for sure.
Yeah, you're building a new routine now.
Exactly. Now I have a new routine. I need to time block that out so that I can build the efficiency around it.
So when does that start?
It's here.
Okay.
I'm in it.
All right.
I'm in it.
So pedal to the floor now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Within that, though, pedal to the floor, to me, like I said, I have times where I press the pedal and I have times where I let go of the pedal. We always hear the work harder, not smarter thing. You also have to work hard.
Absolutely.
You have to work hard. but I'm also thinking of ways, which I said time block, to allow me to be smarter. So those things are both equivalent. You know, I don't want to press the gas so much to where I burnt out in the first 2 weeks of pressing the gas. It's a constant buildup to me. I'm constantly looking to evolve and keep putting one foot in front of the other. I know that there's going to be setbacks on the way.
For sure.
That's a given. But can I continue to put that one foot in the other and not allow a setback to become a 2-day, 3-day, 4-day thing? It's like, okay, took that on the chin. Let's process it. Process it within your mind. Write it out, whatever the case may be. But know that it's time to put the foot in front of the other.
Yeah, so funny. You ever read Atomic Habits, James Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so James Clear talks about when you're building a new habit, right? Like good habits and bad habits, they're just habits, right? So there's no difference there, right? So he talks about like you miss one day, okay. You miss 2 days, that's a new habit.
100%.
Right? So to your point, what I love about what you said, but the gift in that is, yes, there are going to be peaks and valleys and dips, but you're building a new process and a new routine. Mm-hmm. If you build that into your routine, right, you're building structure that can handle those dips, right? Now it's automatic. That time's in there, right? It's just like brushing your teeth in the morning. Yeah. You built it in a way that it's meaningful for your day, right? It's meaningful for your week. It's meaningful for your month. You miss a day? Sure, cool. Yeah. But you're not going to miss 2.
No, absolutely.
Right?
And I used to deal with a lot of guilt around that, like, because I was on that journey of figuring out who I am and building a new routine. When I missed something, I used to have a lot of guilt around it. Like, it ate me up, the internal critic piece. Like, oh, you missed a day. I'm going to make you miss 2 days or 3 days. Or, hey, you missed a day and someone else put in that day, which is a reality of it. Somebody may have, but I'm not going to let it overtake the good wolf in terms of like what the long-term goal is. Like my goals are long-term. This isn't a short-term thing for me. Like I'm gassed up for the race. So I think that's more powerful, is realizing that it's a marathon. It's not just, you can be good for 3 weeks, but how are you going to finish, you know? Like, so it's like I said, it's always one foot in front of the other for me.
Yeah. And when you said that, when you used to miss stuff, it used to eat you up. Yeah. It's probably because there's a value of yours wrapped up in that too.
100%.
Right. It could be that authenticity thing you talked about. Yeah. Like, oh shit, I missed a day. I'm not authentically standing for what I believe in. 100%. Right. Or maybe integrity is a value, right? There's something in that, right? That you should explore that, because it's eating you up, because it's, again, something's getting stepped on in that moment.
Yeah. No, that's real. I appreciate that. We got to talk about that more.
Yeah. We'll do it off the mic.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I appreciate you stopping by the podcast, man. This was a great conversation. I obviously love what you do from a performance standpoint with the guys, and I'm grateful to be, you know, in the community with you, because it is powerful what you guys are doing. So I appreciate you stopping by the pod, and we obviously got a lot more to talk about just given this conversation. So thank you, man.
Yeah, bro. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for holding this space. And thank you for standing in your purpose. You're doing a great job.
Hell yeah. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. For the underdogs, I'm an underdog. I've been through it all.